Three, two, one. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps, and we're recording this early. For those of you listening on Monday, this is actually being recorded on Thursday because I am attending TwitchCon. So, we're recording this a little bit early. So if something happens between Thursday and Sunday, realize that it won't be included here. That's basically it. I'll be at TwitchCon.
Everything's going to change. No, in all seriousness, probably nothing's going to change these couple days because Blizzard just made some huge announcements to the arena.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about them, but ADWCTA, start us off. What changed, or rather, what was announced?
Okay, so the big thing that was announced. Well, we'll get to the nitty-gritty stuff that we like to dig into. But the one that you should really care about, and one thing that's super awesome and fun, and will get other, generally non-arena players involved in, is dual classes. There's a Halloween event where, all of the Hearthstone heroes are going to, dress up as, other Hearthstone heroes, and when they dress up, they, lose their old hero power and gain this new hero power, which is totally backwards, by the way, and I'll explain this later. But what you basically do is you pick a class, like normal, but then you pick a hero power. And the hero power may have nothing to do with your class. It could just be someone else's hero power. And what you're offered are a mix of cards between your actual hero and the class that you pick the hero power from.
Yeah. So for the duration of this event, essentially, you are going to be able to mix up two classes, right? And you're going to have one of the class's hero powers, but you're going to have cards from both of the classes. Should be pretty fun. This is something that people have asked for a while, right? I've seen this suggestion specifically pitched numerous amounts of times. I just want to draft from both classes. And the general idea as well has been something that's pitched. It's like, hey, let's make Arena, at least for a short period of time, something just very wacky,
something totally different, right? Where
right.
And if you don't think this is a really big deal in terms of how it affects the arena, oh my god, it's not going to be there's no more. It'll be a totally different game. You will draft differently. You'll face an opponent. You'll have no idea what to do because you can see what their class is and what their hero power is. But it's like effectively Blizzard creating 72 new classes, that.
It's ridiculous, and I'm trying to think of all the possibilities now. When I'm playing against the class, I'm like, wow, I have to play against Defile, and I have to play against. I have to play against Defile and Flamestrike and Hellfire, as well as Firelands Portal. I can't. This is too much.
Oh, right? So you're a Mage Warlock.
Yeah.
And who's your hero power?
Oh man, I don't know, because you have so much. You have so many spells at your disposal and different spells. Maybe you just go with the Warlock hero power instead of the Mage hero power.
Because you have so much initiative?
Yeah, exactly. If you have so much initiative, you just need cards, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because if you have initiative, you don't need to even be on the board. So as long as you can keep drawing into your initiative, it's almost like you're on the board, right?
But, I mean, let's be honest. You know what I'm going to play as. Warrior with a hunter hero power.
That'll be so broken. That's actually an insanely good idea.
It's an insanely good idea, right? And
because you have and in case you're wondering, you're sitting there, you're wondering why is that a good idea? It's because warriors have the weapons that have the actual tons of reach, and the hunter has the hero power that gives you their. Oh, that's a pretty sick combo.
It's gonna be really fun. But that's all of the information that we have for now. We don't have the nitty gritty information how does this change the offering rates, right?
Yeah.
Or for now, I guess you can just assume it's going to be 50-50 or something.
Okay, let me make a pitch. One, whatever Blizzard wants to do, they're going to fail at it. So I don't think what their intentions are really matters that much. Because it's just not going to be what they intend. Two, that's going to be pretty much okay. Because it's kind of like a wacky event for a week and a half, right? Or almost 2 weeks. No, a week and a half. It's gonna be a wacky event. I'm just trying to count. All right, it like spans.
Right,
It starts on the 24th and then it goes to a week and then it like cuts into a part of November. It's weird. It screws up all the leaderboards. Like it's so. It's one of those things, right? It's like the Frost Festival, but this is even more condensed, and they picked a week and a half in which it spans both leaderboards. And in case you're wondering, you get free arena tickets, like because it's an event. So like all the people who never play arena and or are like really bad at this game and couldn't afford arena, like they're all going to be in the arena. It's going to be like fish everywhere. So if you want to go on the like it basically ruins leaderboard for this previous month and for the next month. And I was like going to be really sad about this, except like right before this announcement happened, off stream I actually got an 0-3 run, and so that completely killed my leaderboard run anyway.
No.
And I'm like, all right, so this doesn't affect me at all. Like one 0-3 run destroys your leaderboard. I hadn't had an 0-3 run in God, I want to say like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was like with a decent deck too. It's always with a decent deck. I rarely get 0-3s with bad decks. Like bad decks can get you 1-3 and 2-3s a lot, but it never gets me a 0-3 run.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so it ruins the leaderboard for this month. It potentially ruins the leaderboard for next month because you'll have 4 days to like get a whole ton of runs in the softest meta ever. Besides Frost Festival. Because that one actually gets a free win.
It's certainly look, I'm looking forward to it. It'll certainly be fun. And right, it definitely does throw a wrench in people's plans if they were planning on going for the leaderboard like at the end of the month. Or like you know, they would have been set up with just like 8 runs or 10 runs or so, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, oh gosh, now I have to do all these runs during this event, which isn't a bad thing.
It's a great thing. The problem is if you did your runs earlier, like you were at a disadvantage, because now people can start and it'll be like every time you have an event in the arena that offers people free arena runs, you're going to get the masses all entering the arena. Like it's going to be easy. Also,
when there is something brand new, it favors those who figure it out the fastest, right? So if you like just figure out something, you can just exploit it. And this is how like Victor got his insane average during the first leaderboards, right? You know,
the Warlock hack, or the Warlock and Hunter hack.
Yeah, where he recognized that, wow, Hunter is really good because everyone is playing Warlock. So he just, you know, sort of took advantage of that, and that's how he got his like 9.3 or 9. Like, I think it was like 9.2, 9.3 average. So there is great opportunity here. You know, if you want to gun for that #1 spot, you can more easily guarantee yourself a very high spot if you are confident and you figure out this like brand new meta.
Yeah. And to help you figure out this brand new meta, we're trying our freaking hardest to get the tier list up on Tuesday, like a event tier list for the dual classes. I'm not even kidding. Like, because we're working on this update for a while, and we just published it today. So if you look at, if you haven't heard, if you haven't been hanging out on Reddit or Twitter, you could go to lightforge.com, whole new tier list. I mean, it's working off the same system as before, but it's been like very severely upgraded with like systems, like multiple systems. Like I think we made at least 5 new systems that affected every single card, and then we made a bunch of like obviously ones that affect specific cards. But they're like the wide-ranging ones, and the in-depth situational playability is, you could go read my Reddit post. The situational playability one's kind of insane, and like literally took us like almost an entire month by itself to work out the kinks. And we already had a situational playability one before. Situational playability is basically like when you want to play this card. Like, versus, like, it's how long it stays in your hand, it's what its effect actually is. So if you have a Flame Strike, right, like, you could just say, my Flame Strike will hit 3 minions always. And I have I don't know, each turn, I have a 20% chance of being able to play it and hit 3 minions. And then you're done. But, like, that's not going to give you a very good mechanical score. Instead, what you need is to know every turn how many minions your opponent has at how much health. And every turn, how frequently you're going to get that Flame Strike, how frequently you're going to want to play, and what the replacement values are. Anyway, All this stuff. It's all been built in. So a lot of the numbers changed a lot, and cards like Flamestrike went up a lot with the meta and all that. But what it means is our system more than ever now is super flexible. Like I think the estimate that I got from our developer, our backend developer, is 5 hours of work to make the algorithm function. Now, the hard part is apparently getting the UI to actually allow you to pick, you know, in an intelligent way, these like new like 72 classes, and to like, you know, sync the system, the back end and the front end together on the website to actually show it to you guys. But the actual back end part is so easy now when it comes to adjusting. Like Blizzard can throw anything at us and we're ready within like, you know, a day or two of like of adjustment.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, more than that, I'm just looking forward to playing the dual arenas. And I think, look, I will give Blizzard, because, you know, we've sort of been on Blizzard pretty hard for a lot of things. I would say I'm looking forward to this event.
Oh, this is a great event. Like, as long
yeah.
as they don't like make it bug out or something, it's gonna be a great event.
It's gonna be a success.
And I think the time period, like, huge props to the time period they picked. Because if they did this for like a month, I would be like, I know I'm gonna get like so frustrated, because it's
I know,
like it's kind of a mess, right? Like, it's going to be a mess. You're going to have all these class cards. You're not going to be able to make any predictions, whether you're a good or a bad player, just because you've increased essentially your card pool by so much, right? It's almost like you're in Wild Arena again. Like, it's essentially the equivalent in terms of number of class cards you add to the pool of what you have to play around as being in Wild again. And we all knew why Blizzard didn't like that. Blizzard didn't like that because you couldn't play around anything. Like, that was the meta back then, right? Like, in MSG... Like, I love the Wild meta. It was really great for me because you didn't have to play around anything. Like, it was a rare time when you would ever play around a specific card. You only played around categories of cards. Like, board clear, right? Or, like, hard removal. And that's the way my mind works, rather than memorizing specific cards. So it's really nice. And we're going to go right back to that with this. But, and I think that's why moving to Standard was really nice. Like, that is not as exciting of a game as if you can actually, like, for good players, as if you can actually play around specific cards. Yep. Like, you don't get that feeling of like, oh, I'm going to prevent that Flamestrike, right? Like, oh, I know what to do to not get screwed here. Instead of just being like, well, generally I'm going to add more tempo on the board while, you know, situationally adding some card advantage, right? That second stuff is what I like to do. But the first stuff is what I feel like most people like to do. And so part of that is going away. But 1.5 weeks... everyone's going to be having fun. I don't care how many times you play it. I don't care if you're like literally no-lifing it and just playing the arena during that time. You're going to be having fun the whole time. Like, it's going to be exciting.
It's pretty good. And yeah. So good job, Blizzard. And I totally agree with this, with what you said at the very beginning. It doesn't even matter sort of offering rates or anything like that. You can't mess this up.
Yep.
You know, knock on wood, but you can't mess
it up with like rules, right? You can only mess it up like actually like things bugging out or like rewards or like matchmaking or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so huge props to Blizzard, and just card interactions. It's gonna be so interesting. And that's dual classes. I just want to prep you guys, if you're just listening to this and you haven't seen it, go on Blizzard's website, check out their like blog post. It kind of outlines everything that's going to happen, and just even more than that, even more than specifically what they did, which I think is a really great idea. And the timing is good, and the time duration is good, but just that they just did another arena event, right?
They did, yeah.
Like, Frost Festival was what? Like, literally ended 2 months ago?
2 months ago, right. So it seems as though Arena, you know, they're sort of positioning Arena as almost like a promotional tool, right? It's like, hey, play this, which I think is good in a way, right? It certainly shines a spotlight on the Arena.
Yep.
I don't love the fact that more and more it's becoming sort of like the kooky sideshow.
Brawl 2.0.
Right.
Sorry, Brawl 0.5. They made Brawl after Arena because Arena wasn't good enough.
Yeah, basically, and it seems like they pay more attention to Brawl.
Oh, of course
But
they do. They update that thing every week.
oh yeah, yeah.
Unlike
I
the
mean,
arena, which they didn't touch for 2 months until now.
yeah. So look, I'm happy that they're giving away free passes or free arena tickets that people will be playing. At the same time, like, it's getting a little bit too wacky for my taste. But that's just me.
No, don't be a downer. Don't be a hater.
Oh,
Stop hating on this. This is excellent and great all around, and everybody benefits.
I'm looking forward to playing. No. I'm looking forward to playing it. Anytime I can combine Warrior and Hunter, I'm doing it.
You just want that, like, that Arcanite Reaper Pyroblast with a Hunter hero power and a kill command.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
Like,
be great.
Turn 10 with a beast on the board.
It's gonna be
12
fantastic.
damage, followed by 5 more.
Oh yeah, and I can grab Hunter's Mark and Execute, for the easy removals. Like, come on. Oh, and also like Ravaging Ghoul with Hunter. Like, what? Frothing Berserker with Hunter.
That's pretty sick.
It's really
I'm totally gonna do. I'm gonna steal this. I'm gonna do Warrior with Hunter.
You're welcome.
Well, because I was gonna play Warrior anyway, just to see what hero power actually, like, what Warrior can do with other hero powers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be pretty sick. Okay, so one other thing to know, just because we are not going to have another podcast before this thing actually comes out, and our next podcast is actually going to be in the middle of this event. So I want to give you guys some, like, basic, overall strategies for how to do dual classes. I think, maybe I'll make another video that goes deeper into it, but it's kind of a busy time. First of all, you should know the hero power is where it's at, not the first class. So the first class you pick, the one that actually shows your hero, doesn't really matter. Like, Jaina can pick up a dagger and be Valera. That's the whole point. So what really matters is the hero power you pick, because they're going to mix your card pool anyway. And the implication seems to be 50-50, but not 100% sure if it's actually going to be 50-50. And it's not like Blizzard, I don't know if Blizzard said it's going to be 50-50. I think they just said a mix.
Yeah.
But if it's 50-50, then, like, everything's going to follow kind of the hero power. Also, whenever this event happens, like, tweet at us if you, like, analyze stats, or if your, like, name is Tarot, or if you just, like, looking at HS Replay and you have a membership, you get, like, a 1-day stats or whatever, just so we can actually, the community, can actually know, right? Like, make a post, like, figure out what the actual offering odds are for these kinds of classes.
I know.
Because we wouldn't know, right? Like, no one would actually know. You would only get your tiny, personally played sample size.
Yep.
Okay, so in addition to this excellent, like, wonderful news, and I hope we went over some of this stuff about how to play around stuff, right? Which is basically, don't play around anything, play only around big categories. Know that your hero power basically designates your class. Try to find some synergies that where the hero power with different class cards, or mixing different cards from different classes make some kind of, like, synergies. Like, be aware of it. That's kind of, and use our tier list as a guide, because our tier list will hopefully function. Not 100% sure the UI is actually going to be up, but we're putting work into it. So if it's not up on Tuesday, it'll probably be up a couple days after that. Yeah, so just a heads up on this dual classes thing. And if I know a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners don't actually play the arena that frequently anymore. This is the time to come back, because it'll be fun, because it's free. And even if you don't stay afterwards, like, you kind of, like, if you're listening to this, you care enough about, like, these kinds of limited format games, just don't even think of it as Hearthstone. It's because it's not. It's going to be, like, a cool, fun new game.
Right. Oh, and just a small FYI, once or before the this event begins, or as soon as this event begins, any arena deck that has previously been drafted and is in the middle of the run will automatically be retired.
Right.
You will get the rewards and you'll get a free arena ticket. So what implications does this have? If you are doing leaderboards, make sure you finish your run. Don't let them retire it, because that just counts as you, like, losing the last game or losing the run. If you aren't going for the leaderboard, definitely do, like, even if you just like have no time and just draft and then do that, you're basically getting a free pack.
You're getting free stuff.
Yeah, you're getting free stuff. So definitely do that.
Definitely let it hang.
Yeah, and recognize that they're building in this buffer time. They said a few hours where no one can go into the arena and draft. So make sure you factor that time in as well.
Cool. Okay, so that's the fun stuff. Now let's talk about the technical stuff that we, you know, like to say that we don't like as much as the fun stuff, but we probably do like it more than the fun stuff, and that's new drafting rules. Synergy picks, finally gone. Number one most important thing, we are now truly in the KFT meta for the first time. Just pure KFT.
Yeah.
And what a meta it is, because KFT's offering bonus, like we said, like way back when KFT, like actually, but this was like a beginning of August thing, right? Where we're like, by the way, the KFT cards, like people looked at HS replay, the offering rate's not 100%, even without accounting for synergy picks. Once you factor synergy picks, it's really not 100%. And it has finally been confirmed by Blizzard in the patch notes. KFT offering bonus is 50%. Not 100. So they haven't changed it. It's just like 50%. And it was 50%. And now it's still 50%. You're probably going to see a little bit more KFT cards because the synergy picks are gone. But it basically hasn't changed. They've just clarified what it actually is, or what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, look, this is, like you said, this isn't new news, right? This is just sort of stuff that we've known for a while, or we've known that some, like, the numbers that they've given us don't seem to be correct.
Yeah.
Right. And this is confirmed once again recently by Taro, who just does too much work. we appreciate the amount of work you do, Taro. This seems like a lot of work though. But yeah, like, I don't know what more to say at this point, you know? Like,
yeah.
I think we've talked about this. There's a discrepancy, and I think it's important to sort of summarize Taro's last few points, which, you know, he's saying, well, why does this happen, right? There's 4 possibilities. He's saying, number one, he could be...
But before we get there, let's just... Because the last time we talked about this, we were only saying that the conclusion is that the KFT bonus and the class bonus are, like, not what Blizzard says they are, right? Like, that was where we left it. And then Arena Drafts contacted Taro and gave him numbers from Arena Drafts, which, you know, are more specific than HS replay numbers, in terms of what Taro could request. And he did more analysis, and it seems like this is like all speculation because it's not like entirely consistent, but like here's the kind of like working theory that's been posted on Reddit by Taro, which is that in the 7.1 patch, class minions, the offering bonus for class minions, which should be ×2, right? And then for class spells, it would be ×2 and then times 1.75 again for the spell bonus. But instead, they just like got rid of the class bonus for minions, so that class minions are the same offering rate as like regular minions. So if you're a class like, say, Shaman, that has like really good, like insanely good minions, you're just not seeing them as often, and that makes sense. I haven't seen fire elementals in forever.
I almost never see fire Ellies, and if you see it, you should pick it, right?
That's because fire Ellies get offered to Shamans as often as a cult master. You know, like, you don't see that many cult masters either. So yeah, and because of that actually is skewing all the rest of the stats also, because if your pools are smaller, other pools have to get bigger, right? So there's a lot of like random skewing going on because of that. That's the working theory. I don't think it's at all proven to the level of robustness of like what exactly Blizzard did wrong. But I think at this point it's just very clear that something weird is up, and that somehow minions and spells are not being treated the same when it comes to the class bonus.
Yeah. Look, this is I don't know what to make of it, because I haven't like poured through the data myself, right? But it at this point it seems as though something is happening behind the scenes that perhaps like not one person at Blizzard knows about, right?
Oh, of course not.
Yeah,
Of course
stuff
not,
is getting.
because like I think Ixar like pretty much said it. I may be misquoting him, but he's basically like, yeah, the number's 2. Like I'm looking at it now, the number is 2. Like that's the KFT offering bonus. It's ×2. And then the reality is like, well, on your screen it may say ×2, but what the system's actually doing is giving it a 50% bonus, not a plus 100% bonus.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. And I will say, so as we're recording this, I see in the comments as well, people are like, people have stated that, you know, they found some issues with like Terras Analysis. And I'll just comment, I haven't done my analysis of Terras Analysis, right? But I think, I mean, the big picture is like, why do we have to do this? We shouldn't have to do this, right? And sort of debate each other's analyses of these offering rates. But it is what it is, and that's where we're at right now.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think the point is, you know, and like I said it before you even brought up chat's comment, which is that it's not about whether Taro is specifically right with his statistical analysis in terms of what he thinks happened.
Right.
He doesn't have to prove a point. He's not the developer. All he has to do is prove something went wrong. And there's like a flat line of Arena Draft's data where all the way through February, it was one number for class minions and then one number for neutral minions. And then 7.1 hits and class minions drops right down to regular minions.
True.
And then just stays like that. And only certain class minions, not all of them. Like, there are some of them that have at different points, which are, like, I'm telling you, the stats are weird. Like, they're not consistent. Something is wrong. But whatever it's wrong, they are not treating minions, like, they're not treating class minions with the same bonus as they are with spells. And it's not just the plus 175% bonus, or times 1.75, depending on how you interpret it.
Yeah. No, I think you make a good point. And look, Terras Analysis may not be 100% spot on, right? He admits himself, he's like, I am not well-versed in statistics, right? But I think he has done enough to show that there are inconsistencies and there are these just very strange changes being made to the arena. And nothing new.
Yeah. So, and just in case you're wondering, like, for our tier list, what the assumptions we're using Blizzard's like public, like, because when they made the patch, they're actually very specific again. They like reiterated what they think the offering bonus is. It went like down the lines, like, this is how much classes get, this is how much neutral, you know, common and basic cards get, this is how much Flame Strike gets. Oh, and Vicious Fledgling is no longer in the game. Like, they were very specific about all the rules and they lined it up, and I was really appreciative of that. I'm almost certain it's wrong, but I appreciate the fact that they put their view out there. Like, this is their vision of the arena, and everything else is a bug, right? Like, what's happening right now with all of this is a bug, and they're presumably going to fix it at some point once they figure out what's happening with it. What we're doing for our tier list is, because we don't actually know what the correct answer is, because it's not like everyone got together, got all the stats, and agreed what the actual offering rates are. Still, no one really knows. Like, yeah, because it's kind of all over the place, and it doesn't follow the patterns Blizzard says it does, because there's something going on. So we're just using Blizzard's stats. And, you know, I think in practice, things like buff taunts or like synergies with taunts are probably going to be worth a little less in Druid, especially if this minion thing is correct. All kinds of like beast synergies and whatever should go down a little bit, but we're not going to put our necks out there and take a view of things when we don't know more than anyone else when it comes to what the actual rules of the games are.
Nope. We're blind as well.
Yep. Blizzard doesn't know. We don't know. Like, HS Replay hasn't said anything. Taro has his view, but you know, he's not a statistician. Like, I read the whole thing. I looked through his numbers. Arena Drafts actually, ZD Man from Arena Drafts actually contacted me and asked me if you know, with what I wanted to do. And we went back and forth a couple times, and I got some stats from him beforehand too. And in the end, I was just like, this is so weird. This is totally not consistent. And I compared that with HS Replay, and I was like, this is just like, I can't conclude anything from this. And then Taro made the post, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't know if I fully agree with his conclusions because I had done the analysis. Like you said, you didn't really do analysis of Taro's analysis. I had done analysis beyond Taro's analysis, and I read over Taro's analysis. I don't know that it's like it's like he's trying to connect the dots, right? Like he's trying to make sense of it. That's his goal.
Oh, okay.
But what I think the issue is he's coming up with conclusions that are not like supported by the statistics necessarily. It's just not robust enough. But what is definitely true is that Blizzard is wrong on their offering rates.
It's not this consistent offering rate that they are saying.
There is no way that it's a consistent offering rate. There's definitely something weird going on with different things. And then I'm just not even like, I was looking at it. I was looking at some of the stats, and I was like, I can't even make sense of this. I can't even, like, whatever I say, like, I'm a very big consistency guy, right? That's why the whole entire tier list is backed by an algorithm that just has rules, right? It's not individual cards even.
Right.
And I'm like, there are no rules. Like, there may be a rule that's making this happen, but it's not a simple rule that we can divine from just looking at the cards. Like, Blizzard screwed up in a fundamental way in this implementation. And
it's not micro adjustments, because Mike Dene has said that they, you know, up until this latest patch, they had not implemented any of these micro adjustments that they were monitoring.
They had micro adjustments. They had, the last time they touched them was when KFT. There's been micro adjustments in the game.
Yeah. Sorry,
but my point is, even when you account for micro adjustments, because you know which ones are micro adjusted by how much, and you know which cards don't get micro adjusted. Like you can pick cards that are like not terribly micro adjusted, right?
Right. That makes sense. All right. We'll figure it out, or we won't. One of those.
So hopefully Blizzard, and Blizzard's on it, you know? Like, Taro says he's been talking to Ixar. Ixar's looking things over. This was basically just brought to Ixar's attention, like, middle of last week. So, I don't know. It'll probably take him, like, a week to diagnose the problem, and then another week to fix it, and then another week to get everything out into a patch. We may not see this fixed, in all honesty. We may not see this fixed until the next expansion.
Perhaps, yeah.
But hey, it's been like this since March, and we never knew about it, and we've been playing this game under rules that are not true, and we'll just keep doing it. If we were able to play the game for the last 6 months, we're able to play it now. That's just what position we've all been kind of put in. It's kind of hard when you're trying to like do like really precise things like really well, and you don't have the rules of the game. But anyway, one more piece for you guys, information-wise, is they did one more round of micro adjust with this patch. So maybe Warrior's better now. I mean, Warrior's almost certainly better now. It was so bad.
I got 12 with the Warrior immediately afterwards.
Oh yeah, you got 12 with the Warrior? Awesome.
Yeah.
What cards did you have? Because it's about offering rates.
A lot of weapons. I had almost no early minions, but weapons and just good spells sort of carried me. I mean, it was nice not having like 5 offerings of sudden genesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just stuff like that. And I was given Blood Razors, like Arcanite Reapers. I had a Gorehowl. I also had Fool's Bane, just a lot of good weapons there. So quality deck, and it felt good. It felt quite good to have good cards.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm going to be playing Warrior as soon as I can as well. It would be nice to get a 12. I can't remember the last 12 Warrior I got. It's been kind of a sad time for the Warrior. So, we looked at micro adjusts and generally what they can do. These adjusts are probably not all that micro. they're probably just adjustments. We probably have like a crazy amount of weapons offered just to keep Warriors alive these days. But just so you know, if you're playing a class like Rogue, it may not be as good as it was before the patch on Tuesday. And if you're playing a class like Shaman or Warrior, they may be pretty good.
I got 12 with the Rogue though as well. So.
Oh, did you draft in like afterwards,
Yeah,
or is
yeah.
it an
This
old
is
draft?
both.
Did you
Rogue
have good
and
cards, or were you just a good player?
I don't remember the deck, so I was an amazing player.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Ah, it's mystery solved. Rogues suck now. You just have to be an amazing. You have to be #1 in A in the month of July. No other month.
No other month.
No other month.
Every other. It has to be in July because that was the toughest month,
Uh-huh.
as Shady said.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, Shady said it. It's got to be true. Okay, so that's it for a roundup of the draft rules. Like, these are all good things that have happened. You know, it's not like Blizzard fixed everything, but they fixed some things. And it's been slow, but like technically they are like half a month ahead of the last time they did this and tried to fix it. So their speed is technically improving, even though it's still really slow at fixing the stuff. And you should come in and enjoy the arena, right? Like, KFT is going to be around for a couple more days, and then this Halloween event's going to happen, and it's going to go away, and KFT is going to come back. Like, this is actual KFT. If you played KFT before this, you were in the Synergy Picks meta. It's totally different. This is KFT, and so I'm excited to actually play in the KFT meta. Okay, moving on. Question from the GOAT. Question from the GOAT. I'm actually going to have a question of the GOAT for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So if you guys don't know, we have a little bit of a division of labor between Merps and I going on at the Grinning Goat, where, you know, Merps can be a nice person, or really like an actual person, and I can just bury my head into like formulas and code and like a calculator, and do what I like to do, which is make these algorithms. So he hasn't been as involved in the algorithms, although definitely before we publish anything onto a tier list, Merps checks off every single card, and he takes a lot of time to review all of them, and when he has objections, we have to make changes to the code, including some things which are like, there's always a number, and we've changed it, right? We used to have a number called Yen's Adjust that Merps' real name is Yen. So it's called Yen's, I'll call Merps' Adjust. So it's called Merps Adjust. And it would be on particular cards, and it would like raise them by X amount of points, or the mass majority of the time lower them by X amount of points. And we're moving on now where I've rejected Merps. I reject Merps now whenever he tries to knock a card down. Instead, with I think 0 exceptions, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. Everything that had a Merps adjustment in this latest round of tier list changes was actually a Merps adjustment onto the actual way we calculate an ability or a relationship between abilities, so that it also affected a bunch of other cards. For example, auras right now have a Merps adjust to bring them up a bit because they were a bit too low the way we were calculating it. So people always ask what you know, like whether you guys have any input on this, or are you just like listening to an algorithm? Like we have input. We try to trust the algorithm. Like the algorithm is still 100% determining, like, I don't know, like 85% of the cards, 80% of the cards, or maybe not 100%, but like we'll determine it up to like within like a 5-point difference. So the question in question of the GOAT, Merps, is,
yes, hi.
The question is, what were you most happy about in the latest tier list changes? Because every card changed. A lot of cards moved massive values around. What was the one change that you were the most happy about that we made in this algorithm upgrade?
See, I hate how you phrased that like that, and not just like, what did you think? So I can't be negative.
Oh, you could be negative. What do you hate about this?
That's because of what I do with cards. I hate on cards, right?
You're never positive about cards.
All right, so Pyros broke 300.
Oh, come on. It was like a 290 something, and then we recentered, and Mage actually generally has like very lowly rated cards.
Right. Well, I mean, but it's...
And so we recentered by class now, so that you can actually like do things by class. And that was an important step, because if you want to combine the classes, Like, you need to center each class differently, or else you go crazy.
Yeah, I understand. I'm sure it was a very important step to make Pyros over 300.
But yes,
it was
Pyros is over 300
for the tier
again.
list.
It had been slipping a while, right? Like, elementals got less important, and we made some tweaks to like how much delay Pyros was getting, like by the body sizes and things like that. So it like kept slipping like 10 points each update, and now we brought it back up to over 300.
Ridiculous. All right. So in all seriousness, what I do like is a lot of these good AoEs and just good initiative cards got bumped up, right? So you see Defile going up a lot. Abyssal Enforcer went up, Fellfire, but then also these other sort of initiative like cards all like went up, or just removals in general, which I think fits with the what we talked about in this meta, right? These sort of tools that were more prevalent in Un'Goro are rarer now, and it just makes sense that they would be higher.
Yep, and if you're wondering, we do these like board state calculation things where we take a look at the cards based on how they're offered and what people pick, and we see like how big boards get like each turn, and we do turn looping, and we figure out what happens each turn, how long you hold, like all sorts of stuff is being done now. We're basically recreating the game of Hearthstone in order to tell you how good each card works, except now it's played by like essentially an optimum player because it's a computer. Yeah, and I really like this comment. I rarely read off of Twitch chat during the Lightforge, but like this comment deserves to be read. Mr. Nichols says 300, so Pyros is worth 3 average cards, right? Seems fair. I have not heard it put as eloquently as that ever. Pyros is basically, because our tier list has an absolute 0. 100 is always the median card value, and it's scaled based on that. So it's very technical. It's very like each point is a thing, and so really 300 points is the equivalent of 3 cards. Like you could have 3 cards, or you can have 1 Pyros, and you're equally happy. Like 3 average cards or 1 Pyros.
I do admit I don't really think of it that way.
But it kind of is, right? Because like you have a 2/2 elemental that you play, and then a 6/6 and whatever, and then it gets that's not entirely true. Because it would be like you would have a Pyros and then you have to discard some cards. That's where it gets its extra value, right? Like because you can't really do that exchange, but it's kind of like that. Like the difference between 1 card that draws 2 more cards and actual 3 cards is just like that you can't have the 3 cards at once. So
right.
If you think about it as having 3 card like delayed a bit and like somewhat under your control, I think that's interesting.
Something like that.
It's something like that. I like it because I never thought about it that way exactly either, but I know how the numbers come out. Okay, so that's a question from the GOAT. And question from the GOAT is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you so much. So make the Lightforge run. And this month's top patrons are 4P, Afro Ninja TB, Ingo, Romy, Sasan, Talon, Ugbog, and Zaruvi. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the support. So yeah. Let's end it on something, and I'll preface this with it's a card good bad because we made the post on Reddit and someone asked me about it, and I like really like this was one of the cards that the algorithm is not 100% determining. And we had moved it up here, and it scaled Nightmare, and we moved it to a 101, and I think like we're going to move it down a tiny bit, but not too much. So if you don't know what Scaled Nightmare is, don't worry about it. It's an epic card and a minion, and you don't see it that often. But it's a 6 mana 2/8 dragon, and every turn it doubles its attack.
Yeah.
So let's be totally honest. In Un'Goro, this card was not good.
No, it was not great. Look, it was never a great card.
It was never a great card, yeah. It was never a great card. But in KFT, I know I've gotten 2 12-win runs with this card in my deck. And I know I rarely have played it. Okay, it gets Kodoed sometimes, and it's really annoying. But that aside, I've rarely played it or had it in my hand and been like, oh, this is so bad.
It's one of those cards in which a shift in meta can really sort of bring really cover up the deficiencies in the card before, right? The problem with Scaled Nightmare previous to this was mainly just because people had too much initiative. The board was just not advantageous for Scaled Nightmare. And now what ends up happening, like a lot of times, like my opponent drops it and I don't have a way to deal with it because I don't have initiative. And also boards are not as messy as they used to be. And when I mean messy, it's not as if stuff doesn't stick on the board. You don't have like as much variety anymore.
Okay.
So
that's called diverse.
Okay,
not
diversity.
Messy. Diversity. Positiveness.
I like it.
Not
like
messiness,
diversity.
Negativeness.
But yeah, so I found that whenever I drop it, or if someone else drops a Scaled Nightmare, I'm just like, oh, this is like way harder to deal with than I remember.
Yeah, like you usually can't deal with it the turn someone drops it. Like, if this card is a 4/8 for 6 mana, it's already pretty good, because that's a very good stat distribution, right? Like, you don't get the full stats you should get from Boulder Fist Ogre, but it's distributed in a very good way. The difference between 7 and 8 health is pretty big. And all you gotta do, all it has to do is not be removed for 1 turn. And it has 8 health, so it's like really hard to remove. Remember, KFT added no hard removals. Like, okay, fine, for Rogue it added like 1 thing.
Yeah.
But
right.
like really it added no hard removals. And freezing it doesn't do anything. You know? Like, it still grows even when it's frozen. So it just takes 1 turn and this guy's already okay. And then if it lives 2 turns, it's amazing. And if it lives 3 turns, you win the game, because you're now dealing 16 damage to your opponent's face. So what you do with this card, how you play it, is you just keep it in your hand, and you keep it in your hand, and eventually, because there's so many swings down the game, you will get the board, right? Like, even if it's not too much of an advantage. Or if you never get the board, you were going to lose anyway. You play your Scaled Nightmare, and you let it live a turn. Then you play your Taunt or a removal or whatever else, and you let it live another turn, and then you win the game. Like, you first wait out until your opponent has to be top decking removals in order to be using them, and then you drop your bomb, and you let it grow and you let it win. These were like super risky moves back in Ungoro and before then, but like in KFT, it's a decent strategy, and for like a 1-card win condition, that's pretty good.
Yep, not bad.
No.
Look, if you look at the score now, it's still not great, right? So, you know, we can be talking and pointing out all of these good things about it. It's still not a great card, but I think it is one of those cards that sort of might be overlooked, and then suddenly the meta changes. You're like, oh, this is better than I remember it to be. Is it suddenly game winning? I mean, it could.
Yeah, but it also has downsides. It's one of those, like, you know,
yeah, like
somewhat risky cards. And I do think we are going to end up lowering it a little bit, but I'd be surprised if we lowered it to anything below like a 95. Just because it's just won so many games for me, and I've lost so many games to it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that's it for the Lightforge. This is once again recorded on Thursday. If the world ends between now and, we're probably gonna release it on Sunday and not Monday, but we'll see. And whenever we release it, you know, don't blame us for not telling you the world-ending news. And until next time, which is going to be, oh wow, we're not gonna be, the Lightforge is not gonna be back until the 29th, which is when we will hopefully have a very special guest, the #1 Arena record holder.
Which is not me.
Which is not Merps anymore. Dreads will hopefully be on next week. We're trying to coordinate the schedules.
Yep.
Yep. And yeah, that's it from me. Until next time, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Good luck in dual arenas.
All right. So I know this is Arena Coop, but we're not actually